James Lupton, delighted to be joined with John Scully. Iceman, how are you?
Everything's great. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. Hope London's treating you well.
Yes, sir. No, everything's great.
Fantastic. You are over here for Artur Beterbiev's fight against Anthony Yarde. First of all, let's talk a bit about camp. How has camp gone for Team Beterbiev?
Everything's always pretty smooth with Artur. He's what you call the consummate professional. You don't have to. It's kind of funny because, I've had fighters where you have to make sure they run. You have to make sure they eat right. Yeah. With Artur, that's not even an issue. Like he just takes care of himself. So our job is very, very easy with this guy.
It sounds like he's very disciplined. I was going to come on a
Yeah, no,
bit.
he's special in his mentality. Like a lot of fighters need to be told what to do, or they need to be reminded of how important this is. And Artur would look at you like he'd be embarrassed for you to have to tell him anything like that. Like, oh, don't forget, you got to train hard. Like he's got it covered for sure.
In terms of, is that sort of reflecting the fact of his conditioning at his age now? He's just turned 38. I think yesterday it was. Is that
Yeah.
reflecting his training and his conditioning and why he's still fighting now at this age?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the thing about him, and I've said this before in different interviews, where I believe his religion, he's so devout in his following the religion. And so he follows it to the letter. He adheres to it. And a big part of it is discipline and, preparing yourself and all of that. And, he's really, really single-minded in that aspect of it. So, like I say, we never have to worry about him doing what he needs to do. That's never a problem.
What is Arthur like on a personal level? We see this front. He looks like a bad, bad man. He's a scary guy. But
Right.
like, on the inside.
Believe it or not, he has an image of being like the boogeyman, and just like Ivan Drago, this. But he's actually not. He's really not. Like when it comes to the boxing, he is. But when it comes to being a person, he's funny. He likes to laugh. We talk about stuff, and sometimes me and him will get together and we'll just go to the mall. And he actually bought me this jacket. Without, he just bought it as a gift. We were in the mall and he goes, "Oh, you like that jacket?" I said, "Yeah, it's all right." It was an expensive jacket. And I buy for you. I buy for you. And so he's that type of guy. He's a good guy when you're friends with him and you're on the team, you're like family with him.
You mentioned as well, he's very disciplined. You don't have to tell him to go running. You don't have to
No.
tell him to train. What about in fight mode between rounds? It's very important for a coach to get his message across in a short space of time you have with your fighter. What is he like in terms of receiving that information?
Oh no, he's waiting for you to tell him. Like a lot of guys, they train fighters, but the fighter in a certain way kind of does his own thing. And he may not listen to everything you say, but Artur, when he comes to the corner, he's waiting for you to tell him what to do. Like you're his eyes, I'm his eyes, or Mark's his eyes. So with a guy like Artur, you have to be on your game as a trainer because he's waiting for you to tell him stuff. And if you're not telling him anything, he's gonna be like, "Hey, what do I need you for? I need you to tell me what's going on." So when you're with Artur, you're earning your money. I'll say that much.
Fantastic. Obviously, currently 18-0, 18 knockouts, 100% knockout ratio. Does that put any added pressure onto him or to the team?
No, I never really think about that, and I don't think he does either. I think the possibility of going the distance is just something that would happen. It just so happens that he hits so hard that sooner or later he's going to catch you clean in a fight, and people taking his cleanest shots. I mean, that's going to take a heck of an effort to do that.
Do you guys plan for the knockout? Do you look for the knockout, or is
No,
it literally
not at
never?
all. No, no, no. We plan to like. It's funny because I've been in a lot of training camps, right? And sometimes training camps are actually just people hitting the bag, sparring, shadow boxing. They're training for a fight. That's it, you know. But with Artur, it's like I say, it's the type of thing where we're constantly working on details and strategy and technique and all these things. So he's trying to win. He's trying to outpoint you. He's trying to do better than you. So it's never a thing where, okay, I'm just going to hit him with the big shot and we'll see what happens. You know, he's always trying to get the edge technically from a technical standpoint. So the knockout, they just truly, people say just let the knockout come. And that's truly what happened. They just come. But we've never planned for that to actually happen.
With yourself, John, you've been in the sport for what, over 40 years now. Have you come across anyone as heavy hitting as Artur?
No. Well, I say that because I've never boxed with him. I do the pads with him. I've sparred with Roy Jones, and there was a guy named Lamar Parks, middleweight contender back in the day, vicious puncher. But I go by the people who spar with Artur, the people who box with him, and I go by what they tell me, and their descriptions tell me that it's almost otherworldly, the way they describe the power. So in that regard, I've never been involved with a fighter who people described in that manner.
A lot of people, so when you say about heavy hands and knockout power, a lot of people say Deontay Wilder, George Foreman back in the day, and even Naoya Inoue at the moment, but no one really mentions Artur for some reason. Now, where do you say that Artur will rank in terms of pound for pound heavy hands?
I mean, like I say, going by what the people say, like I'll say, Joe Smith. Joe Smith is a tough guy. Everybody knows Joe Smith is tough, rock solid, hard puncher himself. And I have a mutual friend with Joe, and the guy told me that Joe told him he's never been hit like he was hit with Artur. And other people who've sparred with Artur wearing 20-ounce gloves, 20-ounce sparring gloves, they still tell me I've never been hit like this man. So I can't imagine hitting harder than Artur. People may hit as hard in history, Bob Foster and guys like that, but I can't imagine they hit hard. So I would say in that regard, he's right up there with those guys. Maybe Julian Jackson, pound for pound, probably got bigger knockouts, one punch. But I don't think many people on earth at his weight could stand up to say Artur hit you with a jab, a right hand, and a left hook. I don't think there's many people that on earth that are going to stand up to that and still be standing after getting caught.
Talking about travelling to London to face Anthony Yarde, is it phase you guys at all? Is it phase Arthur having to go to the Lion's Den as such?
It doesn't appear, Artur doesn't seem to be phased at all. He's never, Arthur's the type of guy, from what I've seen, he's never turned down a fight. Like people would ask him, do you want to fight Godzilla in Japan? And he would say, let's go. If that's where the fight is, that's where the fight is. You always have to worry about hometown and that type of thing, but that's what the promoters are for. They're there to ensure that their guy gets a fair deal. So we haven't really discussed it. I haven't had any discussions at all with Artur about this type of thing. He doesn't seem to be worried about it at all.
You touched on something quite interesting there. So obviously we're talking about the hometown, we're talking about the judges, etc., the referee. Now, you say that it's the promoter's job, etc. So do you guys have any say at all in who the referees are, where the referees are from, for example, or is it all down to, say, Top Rank?
I believe Mark Ramsey, is Artur's head trainer and, handles things for him. And I believe Mark does his job and talks to the right people. And, I think if there was a referee or a judge who was, for lack of a better term, really bad or really bad for us, Mark would be on it and he would make sure that wasn't, part of the program. So, I think, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. And when you have big fights like these, it's a lot more than just the two guys fighting. you have certain referees who are not beneficial to your style of fighting or whatever. So things need to be taken care of behind the scenes. And from what I'm seeing, things are being done right.
Obviously, you work in with Team Beterbiev. You are part of the coaching team there. I assume yourself, you're a very knowledgeable guy about boxing as well. You will be looking at Anthony Yarde closely. You'll be seeing what his qualities are, where his weaknesses are as well. So talk to me a little bit about what his strengths are. I know you're not going to disclose what his weaknesses are. I'm not asking you for the game plan, but what would you say Anthony does well?
I mean, I think he's fast. He's got fast hands, and he's got a good left hand, and and he fires. He throws his punches quickly, like he returns fire. You can't leave too much of an opening with him because he'll try and get it in there. So he's athletic and he's got speed and fast twitch muscles and all of that type thing. But I think my gut feeling is that with his lack of experience as an amateur and as a pro to a degree, a lack of experience. And, I feel like even no matter what he says, to be in there at the level of Artur Beterbiev, and you're in there with the guy and you're feeling the difference, and you're feeling the difference in power and in tenacity and all these different things, because fighters can feel each other. It's like an unspoken thing. We just feel it. And I think he's going to feel something with Artur that he's never felt. Now, and certainly not with Kovalev. Kovalev was his biggest opponent, but the level of pressure mentally that Artur brings to the table is twice what Kovalev would bring. And Kovalev is very good, but I'm saying Kovalev, despite his reputation as a destroyer, Kovalev was not. It was not a war. They were both very measured and they took their time, and the pace was not heavy, which that fight at that level is good for us in that I see that Anthony, he basically, he folded. I mean, it's not an insult, but he folded. And he folded under pressure and circumstances that were not as deep, remotely deep, as what he's going to meet on Saturday night. So psychologically, when he realizes that, I think we're in a much better place than he's going to be in on Saturday.
So you sort of said there, Arthur will be Anthony's toughest challenge of his career yet, which I'm in agreement with.
For sure.
What qualities does Anthony bring that Arthur may not have seen before?
I mean, we fought big punchers, Joe Smith, as that. We fought slick boxers and fast hands with Marcus Brown. And Arthur's had, he's faced something like 4 or 5 world champions already as a pro. As an amateur, he fought the best. He fought Gavadzik, he fought Kovalev, he fought Ismail Salak, he fought Usyk. So, with all due respect, I don't think Anthony's going to show Arthur anything that he's never actually seen.
Obviously, Callum Johnson went over and fought Arthur and dropped him. Was there a cause for concern at all there?
No, it's a funny thing, Dan. I don't feel this with other people, but when Arthur went down, there was no worry at all. Like, it just, the same way when he got cut against Marcus Brown on the forehead, there was no worry. After we saw how Arthur responded in the corner, there was no worry. And when we fought Gavadzik, probably after the 4th round, we were probably losing on the scorecards. There was no worry. There was no worry at all, because no matter what anybody says, people say, oh, Gavadzik won every round. No, he won 3 rounds. Like, the fight's 12 rounds. You know what I mean? So, like I say, the whole all-encompassing 12 rounds, it's easy, not easy, but it's a cool thing to start out nicely against Arthur, but to maintain that for 12 rounds, that's a heck of a that's a mountain to climb.
Another Brit who is waiting for Artur, or the winner of this fight, is Callum Smith. He poses different threats to Anthony Yards. Woods, probably surely down to his size. Obviously, he's moved up from super middleweight, so he has been a lot lighter. He's not been at light heavyweight for an awful long time. If that fight were to be next, again, how do you assess Arthur's chances against Callum, or vice versa, Callum's chances against Artur?
Yeah, I would say realistically, not being cocky, but I think it would be more what Callum's chances are with Artur. You know, we would approach it in that regard. But really, we haven't looked at him very much. You know, Artur's the type of guy. He's like I say, it's very special to have a guy like him, because he would tell you himself, I don't care anything about Callum. I'm worried about Anthony Yardy right now, and we'll worry about Callum and Canelo and these guys later. So you know, that's a beautiful thing, because he's literally would never look ahead to what might happen down the line, because he knows nothing's going to happen unless we win this weekend.
If that were to happen, would you guys be happy to travel back to the UK for Callum Smith?
I would think so. I was just talking to someone this morning about this, and I was saying Artur doesn't seem to mind anything. You know, like if you said, all right, Artur, we're going to fight the Martian champion on Mars, he would say, okay, let me know when to be there. You know, so he doesn't seem to have any fear of things, because he recognizes that once you get in the boxing ring, it doesn't matter where you are. You know, you could be in California, you could be in Canada, you could be in Nigeria, but the ring is only 20 feet by 20 feet, and that's where we are.
You mentioned he's got options. Callum Smith would be the mandatory route. Canelo, you've mentioned there as well. He, I suppose, would be the biggest financial gain. But you've also got the undisputed route with Dimitri Bivol. For you guys, or for Artur, what is he chasing? Is it financial gain? Is it, you know, business for him? Is he looking at legacy in terms of undisputed? What is more special to you guys?
From my knowledge of talking to Artur, I think he wants to be undisputed. That would be his ideal goal. I don't think the money is really primary with him. I think the undisputed would be more important to him. So, and that would be whoever it is. You know, at one time it was Canelo, and everybody saw, we got to fight Canelo, and he said, well, yeah, you know, if that's who has the belts, then yeah. So now it's Bivol. So now that's who we're supposed to fight. So I think, from my talking with him, being undisputed is his primary goal.
Has he ever expressed a want to fight the individuals, or, like I say, is it purely down to the belts?
No, he's a unique guy, because he doesn't really watch the boxing. He doesn't watch the fights. You know, I remember when Canelo fought Callum Smith, and that Monday, right after the fight, I knew the answer, but just to be funny, I said, "Oh, Artur, did you see the fight Saturday?" And he said, "No, I don't watch boxing." You know, and he doesn't care. And it's funny to me, because he's such a unique guy. But I'd be willing to bet that if a month before he fought Joe Smith, if Joe Smith walked up to him on the street and said, "Hey, Artur," I don't think Artur would know who he was. I don't think he would realize that was Joe Smith. He's not a boxing fan. He doesn't know history. He doesn't know who Sugar Ray Robinson is, you know, and he doesn't care. It's just, boxing is his job. It's his way to live life and provide for his family, and he happens to be very good at it.
Do you think that's a good thing for Artur, especially, you know, to be able to detach yourself from your job and your personal life, let's say?
Yeah, I think it really, really, really works for him. You know, with some other fighters, maybe not, but with him, it goes in line with everything, with how he is as a man, just how he is as a human being. That's just him, and it works for him. And he just, you know, he just does boxing. That's what he does.
Perfect. Well, John, I want to thank you for that.